as we return to this momentous news conference on Sunday, held by the American hikers Shane Bauer and Josh Fatal hours after they arrived in the United States at a Midtown New York hotel. They were flanked by their families. They had just been released from an Iranian prison after 2 years. Shane and Josh did not take questions after their extended comments, but some of their family members did. During the news conference, I had a chance to question Shane Bauer's mother, Cindy Hickey, and Josh Fatal's mother, Laura, along with Sarah Shord, the third American hiker who was in prison for more than a year and released last year. I'd like to hear from Laura and Cindy about the release of their sons. But first, Sarah, if you could just comment on one statement, since you said these statements are all three of yours, talking about Guantanamo and CIA prisons being used to justify how you were treated, but that you felt you were critical of these as well.
Yes. Shane and Josh and I have a long record of opposing policies of the U.S. government that are that we don't believe are right or just. And it was very ironic that when I was in Evin prison, every time I would complain about being alone, every time I would almost lose my ability to go on from the solitude and the fear and the intimidation and the complete uncertainty about our futures, the guards would bring up what Guantanamo, what prisoners were experiencing there. And we would say, we know, we understand, but two wrongs don't make a right. That said, we oppose vehemently that prisoners around the world are experiencing abuse similar to ours and worse.
One other question on the
Hi, Amy. Thank you for the question. Well, needless to say, it was a very, very exciting moment watching the boys come down the stairs. You know, they only knew, as Josh described, minutes before they were going to be released, and we only got that phone call on Wednesday and then went to the airport in Muscat later that night. So it was a very quick from the time they found out they were going to be released to coming home. So yes, we were enormously elated, and to see them, I must say, Cindy and I have both agreed they're a little thinner than we left them. Okay, their hair is nicely cut. They had slight gray under their eyes because they haven't had much sunshine at all. Nothing on vitamin D. But I just want to say they had organized their day in such a way that I'll just, if everyone will bear with me, they were very, very organized. They had a reading hour. They had, they tested each other on SAT and GRE questions. They read books and had questions for each other in jail about different readings they had. Hannah Arendt was one of their favorite writers. But one of the things that Josh has told me was that they were very serious about their exercise, and they used water bottles as weights in their cell to build muscles. And you see they're both very fit now. But also the guards gave blindfolds. When the boys had to walk in the halls, they had blindfolds so they couldn't communicate with any other prisoners. And so Josh and Shane cut one of the blindfolds so they could make laces for their sneakers. Because when they used to have to go in the outside area to exercise, they had like equal to kind of sandals. So they wanted to be able to run a lot and to exercise a lot. So they made laces from that strips of blindfold so they could have laces on their sneakers. Just showing ingenuity. But I'm sure Cindy has more to say as well.
The question of how it felt to see Shane come down the runway. It was an unbelievable time for me. We've worked very hard, and I want to applaud everyone in our families for the work that we've done together and the fact that we're still together and we're a strong force. The moment that I saw Shane come down the runway was waited for a long time. The joy for me was to see him put his arms around his two sisters, who've been waiting and waiting for their brother, who they're very close to come home, and their father. And of course, I couldn't wait to get my arms around him myself. I want to be support to Shane. I want to be there for him, and I can't wait to see Shane move forward in his work. I'm very proud of my son and his work, and I always have been, and I know his work will even be stronger. And I know the work in the world that he's done in the past, he'll continue to do with greater force. Our lives are starting. We're all free. Not only Shane, Sarah, and Josh, but their families. And I look forward to the doors that are open, and I plan on moving forward after a break, after a little bit of rest, back into this world also with strong force.
That was Shane Bauer's mother, Cindy Hickey, and Laura Fatal, mother of Josh Fatal, the two U.S. hikers released on Wednesday after 781 days in a 104-square-foot Iranian prison cell. Upon landing in Oman after their release last Wednesday and before coming to New York, the hikers briefly addressed reporters at the Oman airport. This is an excerpt of what Shane Bauer said.
2 years in prison is too long, and we sincerely hope for the freedom of other political prisoners and other unjustly imprisoned people in America and Iran.
After the news conference on Sunday here in New York, I read that former Reagan-Bush advisor Elliott Abrams had criticized Shane Bauer for his comments in Oman. Abrams pled guilty to withholding information from Congress in the Iran-Contra affair, by the way. But I asked Shane Bauer's fiancée, Sarah Shord, after the news conference to respond to Elliott Abrams. But first, I asked her about those first moments of freedom in Iran. What were your first words when they came to you in Oman?
Oh, well, I was speechless for a very long time. I said to them, it's real. You're never going to have to go back there. And the rest was really just tears and smiles and...
I don't know if you've heard what Elliott Abrams, the Reagan-Bush administration official, has just written for CNN in a piece called Shane Bauer's Ingratitude, in which he criticizes Shane for calling on the U.S., not just Iran, to release political prisoners and those who are unjustly detained. Your response, since you're saying that Shane and Josh were speaking for all three of you.
Well, no one can spend over a year, let alone over 2 years of their lives, unjustly detained, imprisoned, and cut off from the world without feeling connected to other prisoners around the world. Shane and Josh and I were hostages. We were held for political reasons. We are completely innocent. And of course, we will never, ever be able to forget that other people are still sitting in the position that we were in. Shane and Josh just a few days ago, and even though for me it was a year ago, it's just as real to me as it was the minute that I stepped off that plane.
You have said that you heard people screaming in the Iranian prison.
Yes, that's correct. It didn't happen very often, but it didn't have to happen often to leave really an indelible mark on me and on Shane and Josh and I. It will inform the work that we do for a more just world in the future.
Sarah Shord, one of the three American hikers detained by the Iranian government. Shane Bauer and Josh Fatal were detained for more than 2 years. Sarah Shord for more than 1 year. She is engaged to Shane Bauer. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace